This is Sue Greenwald with Awakened Stories. I'm here today with Deanna Carr with the Mystical Moonlight. Hey, Deanna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Today is our third and final video on Hawaii, and I'm calling it the exploitation of Hawaii. I want to go through some of the history of Hawaii and talk about, again, things that we, the people, don't know. So please jump in and just give us the truth as I talk
Okay.
about the history. So basically, we've learned that Captain James Cook discovered Hawaii in 1778, and then about a year later, he died mysteriously. And you told us that whole story was fabricated. Hawaii
Yes.
was discovered roughly 100 years prior to that. And basically, Captain James Cook was killed by, we'll call him his own people. He was drawn and quartered, it sounds like,
Yes.
right? And basically, it seems like there was a fight over the control of Hawaii at that time.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else we need to know about that piece of the story?
No, I think we covered most of that.
Okay, cool. All right. So next big event is 1790 when Kilauea exploded. And we talked about this last time where 5,000 plus Hawaiians were killed. Again, marching on, we'll call them the bad guys that were,
Mhm.
hiding inside the volcano. All right. So they
Yes.
died, right? They knew their island was being taken over.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else we need to know? Like, how did they know? How did they band together? That kind of thing.
Well, a lot of people get to a point where they feel enough is enough,
Yeah.
and they got to that point.
Okay.
So they worked together on, going forth and taking back what was theirs.
Right.
Now, it didn't end up with the result that they wanted, but at least they tried, and that's what they really wanted was for them to at least try fighting. I mean, when
Right.
something's taken from you and you suffer and suffer, at some point you're going to get to that mentality of why don't I take it back? And
Right.
I think even here in the US, we're thinking the same thing. It's, why aren't we taking it back? We keep
Right.
letting other people's run us to the ground and it's not going anywhere. At least for us, not for, the government, obviously.
Right.
But for them, they got to the point where it was we got to work together. We got to try to take them out. Once we get that done, then we should be good and we can keep it for ourselves.
Right.
Um, Now, they obviously didn't have the outcome they desired,
Right.
but they, died in the sense of they tried.
Right. It's like that movie with the ants against the grasshoppers. The
Mhm.
ants outnumber the grasshoppers 100 to 1. And if they realize
Yeah.
that, they could overthrow them easily. And that's really where we are now in our society. Like we see the corruption and what's happening out there. We could overthrow them easily, except we're fat and happy, right? We're kept
Yeah.
fat and happy, watching our shows, doing whatever we're doing, and just thinking it's somehow magically all going to disappear.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we,
It-
we do think that we don't want to sacrifice ourselves for the good of others.
right, right,
And because we're afraid. I mean, it is a scary thing to think about is, you don't know what type of situation you could be walking into.
yeah,
But um I think it's the craziest part is when, let's say, we see a video on, let's say, TikTok or something, and it's of a guy recently, he was developing so plastics could be redeveloped into gas.
right.
Crazy. That would be, a huge change. Pollution's a huge issue all over the world. And the first thing I thought was, I wonder how long he's gonna last.
Is it Julian Brown? Is he like maybe about 20 years old?
Yeah,
Young.
he's very,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's met with King Smarty and he'll be around for a long time.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is it's crazy to
Yeah.
think the first thing was, oh, they're gonna kill him off.
Yeah.
Oh, they're gonna send an assassination for him.
Yeah.
Or you see a different video, same thing. They find something that's life changing, world changing.
Yeah.
They'll probably be gone in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Like, how long are they gonna last? Like, so it's something that's been reoccurring, and we know the negative things they do, and we still believe them. We still trust them. Not everybody, but a lot of them, which is
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
because Yeah.
Yeah, it is crazy. We automatically know the inventors are going to be assassinated, right? And we
Hmm.
feel bad for them now. They got to keep trying and they've got to do what they do. But we already
Yeah.
know that. And now
Yeah.
the tables are turning. That's not going to happen anymore. But,
Yeah.
um, you know, it's just not right. We see the injustice out there. Now,
Yeah.
in every movie out there, and we can name like about a billion movies, we're always rooting for the rebels and the underdogs, right? Every one of them. Star Wars, like every single movie. But what about real life? We're not rooting for ourselves.
No, we're not. We want to stay stagnant and stay in our
Yeah,
lane because what if it doesn't work?
yeah,
But we keep forgetting, what if it does work?
yeah,
What if it does?
yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part is because we, at least for America, we are in this mindset of keep you down. If we keep you down, we keep you in this low vibrational pattern, you're going to stay stagnant, you're not going to want more,
Right, right.
or you're in the mindset of I have everything I need, you're wealthy, you can order
Yeah,
out every day of the week, you don't even have to cook. There's things that make people stagnant in different ways
yeah,
depending on where you're at.
exactly.
um, but it's just a way to keep us put down.
Right. And
And this is where those people, they were able to not stay still. They were able to push forward and they were able to try.
right. We're controlled by money. They were controlled. They wanted freedom. They wanted their islands back. All right, so let's fast forward back to Hawaii. Around the 1800s, we're going to call them the missionaries arrive. Okay, so that's the
Mhm.
Americans slash Europeans that
Yes.
basically, again, we don't know what the true date is. We don't know what the story really is, but
Mhm.
pop in there if there's something that jumps out at you. And around 1835, we're told that the sugar plantations start to arise. Okay,
Mhm.
not sure if that's a true date. Again, we don't know. This
The
was
date's a little off. It's not by a lot, but it is a little off. But once the sugar plantations come up, then that's when things go even more south.
right. Okay, so what happened? Do you want to tell us? Because I've got the next piece I was going to say, but it's related. So,
So once the sugar cane was in place, they started to use the land, use the people for it. Now, as we know from our previous Puerto Rico conversation, sugar is a huge industry. It funds America, uh, mostly America. I don't think other countries use it as much as we do,
right,
but I could be mistaken. It's in everything,
right,
but you have to grow it. Now, in America, I mean, I'm sure there's some places that still grow sugarcane, but it hasn't really been a huge thing, for a while.
right,
But they still have access to it down there. And it was the same thing where slavery was, incorporated. They used the people, they used the lands, and they saw it as a way to gain money, gain access. And who better to run the fields than the people that knew how to do it?
right. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted you to say was slavery, because that's what came to
Yeah.
my mind when I read that. Okay,
Mhm.
so listen to this next piece. 1875, plantation workers are brought in from Asia. What?
Mhm.
What was that all about?
Well, you got to think during this time frame, everybody's fighting in some way, shape, or form. Nobody likes other races.
Yep.
Nobody wants to cooperate. Nobody wants to work together. So if they keep bringing in people from different countries that people don't like, it's going to be okay because they don't like them. You're not going to stick your neck out for something that you don't really care about.
Ah,
So if it was American people, it'd be like, why are you doing that? But it's somebody
right,
from a different country. Oh,
right,
they deserve it.
right.
We need what we need. It's okay. So
Yeah,
it's really just working up that mindset of, you know, if it's not you, it's okay. If it's them, it is what it is.
yeah,
And it really starts to feed into that. And we still have that mindset here in America where it's, if it's not us, at least we're cool. At least we're safe.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's war across the world, so we don't care, right? Because it
Yeah.
doesn't affect us,
Yeah.
right?
But as soon as it was in your backyard,
Big
you would
time.
not be okay with it.
Right,
And that's really what it is, they're bringing people, they want the cheap labor, they want the slaves because then they can get what they need. And in the end, that is money.
right,
So it's all about greed, it's all about profit, and it still is. I mean, Hawaii is still being used today for profit. Just think about the vacations, traveling down there. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's not cheap to do.
right.
So it's a way for them to make a lot of money
Yeah.
and stay rich and wealthy.
Right. So they brought in, the Asians basically, so there was division within the people. Of course, they have
Mhm.
workers, but there's division and, within the people. I guess that's the best way to say it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so let's fast forward, 1875. A trade agreement with the king gives the US naval lease on Pearl Harbor.
Mhm.
Is that true?
Pearl Harbor is an interesting subject. Part of it is true, but part of it is not.
Okay,
And it's really just a way to keep control. It's a way to kill off people that they need killed off. Um, and really what they want to do is keep control of what they have
okay,
or take more. It's
okay.
usually never the opposite. They want more.
All right, so basically, Pearl Harbor was, one of it's at least an acknowledged naval base, right? Right.
Yes.
So, okay, fast forward 1887. Okay, the Constitution of the Kingdom of Hawaii is signed, which removed the Hawaiian monarchy from its authority. What? And it's known as the Bayonet Constitution because force was being used. All right. So they took out the Hawaiian government, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything you want to comment there?
No, that's pretty accurate. They took them out because they
Yeah.
wanted more control.
Yeah.
Because at some point, when you come to a new land, they're going to be lenient at first. They're going to try to work with you, but at some point, you overstep their boundaries.
Right.
They are going to fight back as they should.
Right.
And they did not like that they're fighting back because they're actually pretty strong. They work well together, and we couldn't really fight them, so
Right.
they did take them by surprise to knock them out.
Right. Okay. So pretty nasty stuff. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So 1893, Americans and Europeans overthrow the monarchy. So they did all sorts of nasty things to take the king and queen out.
Yes,
And
yes.
all right. So they weren't able to govern themselves, is what I'm getting at. Okay. 1898, Hawaii is annexed by the US. And it's called Newland's Resolution. It created
Mhm.
a five-member commission to study the laws needed in Hawaii. So again, European Americans come over and they know better on how to rule Hawaii than the Hawaiians did. Okay, just
Yeah,
saying. All right,
yeah,
now, but one of these dudes is called Sanford Dole. Have you ever heard the Dole name before? Okay.
yeah, a lot.
Pretty much everyone has heard of Dole. So Sanford Dole was a lawyer. He was later appointed, probably by himself. And I'm joking, but not really. He was appointed justice for the Supreme Court of the Kingdom of Hawaii. So after the overthrow of the monarchy, Sanford Dole serves as president of the Republic of Hawaii. He's like considered royalty. He goes all over and travels and blah, blah, blah. And in 1887, he drafts the Constitution for the Kingdom of Hawaii. Listen to this. It limits voting rights, just like they did in Puerto Rico. Okay. Imposed income and wealth requirements to be eligible to vote for the House of Nobles. So again, the regular people can't vote. They consolidated power for the elites. They minimized power for the monarch of Hawaii.
Mhm.
Okay. So they took over.
Yeah.
All right, next, the Dole cousins come to Hawaii to help. And I want to focus on James Dole, who founded at the time the Hawaiian Pineapple Company. It's now Dole Foods, currently the largest producer of fruits and vegetables in the US. Revenues are 6.5 billion of dollars a year, and they have a co-marketing agreement with Walt Disney Company. All right. So basically, James came over. He said, huh, I think I'll plant pineapples randomly. Like it just magically occurred. he planted the pineapples, and of course, it's grown to be one of the biggest countries or companies ever.
Mhm.
Is that what really happened?
No, the pineapples were actually being grown. So the way that they would set it up was they would take pieces of lands that were good for specific crops. They would alter them, but pretty much everything was set up. So he just came in and he's like, pineapple, we don't have access to that.
Ah,
When you see something, one, it tastes delicious. Two, it's something that is grown very uniquely. I mean, if you've seen a pineapple plant, it's grown from the bottom up.
yep,
Um, and a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think it comes from a tree.
yep,
So just the way it's grown is unique and it's hard and it takes time. So he saw it as an opportunity of, we don't have this where I'm from. People would pay for this. People would eat this up.
yep,
And so it started that. Now I know they're on to different fruits and vegetables, but it started with the pineapple and the idea of there's all this space, there's all this land, it's rich in nutrients, and it's a way that I can grow what I want.
right.
People are going to pay extra for it, and it's going to start blooming, which it did. A lot of people use the Dole products, and they're everywhere.
Right. Right now, like you go to the grocery store, it's Dole lettuce, Dole fruit, Dole this,
Mhm.
Dole bananas, everything. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Two major questions. Did they start out with human trafficking there before the pineapples became like famous and in demand?
They started with sex trafficking, yes.
Okay. Any details on that that you can whip up real quick?
They would have a location that his friends would come to. They would pay money and they would have, stuff that they shouldn't be doing.
Okay. So that kind of started, that was a business there. Again, they had all these people that they did whatever they wanted to,
Yeah.
uh, used them as slaves, all sorts of nasty stuff. All right. So that was a thing. Second big question, did the Dole family, let's call it, or company, have connections at all with the sugar industry? Like we're going to call it Domino Sugar now, which is one of the biggest, but did they have any connections with Domino or sugar industry people, family connections in either like America or Europe?
Not at first, later on they did. They started to not publicly but secretly work together and how they could exploit and make more money through their products. And I do think that they did have collaborations.
Okay. I couldn't easily find proof of that, but I know it's there,
Oh
right?
yeah. I mean, they're going to work as openly as they're supposed to. They're not going to put everything in and out there for people to know about. If there is a way for them to collaborate with somebody without having to have a working agreement, they can make one up without having to have a legal documentation,
Yeah.
and they could have a secret documentation. They don't need to make it public depending on what type of forms they are.
Right,
So they did have a collaboration that would help benefit both of them, not only on making a lot of money, but how to control and take over that
right,
area
right,
and control the people, because that's really what the main thing was, is how do we keep control of these people to do our bidding?
right,
Because they, for sure, were not going to go out and work the fields because they are not that type of people. They want others to do it because they are lazy and entitled.
right, right. Okay, good point. Okay, so now Hawaii needs to import the food for their people as all the land basically goes toward growing Dole products for
Yeah.
import and for money. So just like Puerto Rico, the prices there are crazy because they're sending out all the goods for the company to get rich off of, but the people don't have food to live.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy.
And you have a nutrient-rich soil, you can grow
Yep,
your own crops.
yep,
They had a way that they could survive with the amount of people. They didn't need to do all this excess stuff that we were saying was necessary.
right.
So we did take over and switch everything about them to be more European or Americanized.
Okay, so let's fast forward in history. 1941, the attack on Pearl Harbor occurs, which again was US prompted. Okay, so we did a video on Pearl Harbor a few months ago. So the
Yeah.
US said, hey, we got to cover up some shady stuff and we want to
Mhm.
get into the war. Why don't you bomb Pearl Harbor? And
Yep.
that's when we got into the war. Kind of summary version, but go watch that video. It's interesting. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So attack on Pearl Harbor, which put Hawaii really on the map. Okay. We all knew about it at that point, those that were alive. And we've all heard about that. 1959, Hawaii becomes a state. 1990, Kilauea erupts again and destroys a town, but expands the island. Again, a land grab. Now, this was interesting too, and I'm going to mess up the name, but between 2013 and 2017, Malamo Honus Worldwide Voyage starts. So it's a 4-year voyage around the world, and the stops included 12 UNESCO heritage sites. And I'm like, bing, red flag. Why are they going there? We've talked about UNESCO before, so interesting
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then let's just fast forward to 2023. We have the Maui and Lahaina fires, which is a massive land grab. Now, if you look at the reports online, it says only 102 deaths were reported. There were far more deaths and, of course, abductions and things than we've been taught. All right.
It's easy to hide that way.
Yeah. Yeah, because people are running around and they took the children and they've done all sorts of nasty stuff in plain sight of the people.
Mhm.
All right.
Yes.
And of course they're doing the same thing in North Carolina and other countries as well. So common tactics used by both US and Hawaii, um, US toward Hawaii and Puerto Rico are they take over the land, they kill the indigenous people, they're thought of as lower species, as cheap labor or slaves. They raise the taxes so the people lose their land and then they have to sell it at a low price. They take over all the laws like the right to vote, so there's no local representation. And then they plant the crops that they want to export, like sugar or pineapple, which doesn't provide enough food for the people. So the people need to import food at higher expenses. Taxes increase, and the people have to work even harder to survive. In both cases, both Hawaii and Puerto Rico, sugar plantations took over a great deal of land. And now tourism is the large industry, right?
Hmm. Yep. Like you said, they have a 4-year voyage.
Yeah,
I mean, one, who needs a voyage that long?
yeah,
But two, they have these massive hotels taking up mounts of land. I mean, yes, I have wanted to go to Hawaii, but it does take away from the experience because you are still seeing the Americanized, Europeanized way of living when you go to these hotels. They're
right.
taking land from the people. They're not,
Yeah,
at most what they use the people for is for the shows or
yeah,
for the hospitality because they don't really have other options
right,
and they exploit their culture to gain more publicity.
right,
Oh, it's really cool seeing that. But are these people actually happy doing that? I'm sure they love, showing their culture, but probably not for what they're doing.
right. So the US basically wanted Hawaii because of its location. They have the Pacific Fleet there, the military bases, good logistics there. The land is lush and able to grow a lot of crops. The
Mhm.
labor, of course, is now super cheap. And it's now a major agricultural exporter. But the problem is they've reduced the population and they've had all sorts of catastrophes that have been caused by the captors or those that have
Mhm.
enslaved Hawaii. Horrible. Now, I wanted to show a video and get your opinion on whether this is real or not. So someone shared this video with me the other day and it really sparked my interest. And I wanted to get your opinion on it, whether or not this was real. Okay, so we're going to put it here.
Yes, it's real.
We're not even at the end yet.
I know.
Okay, there's a dude under the rib cage there. And there's a little girl to the left of this triceratops. Real.
Yep.
Anything you want to say about that?
It's definitely real.
What's your thought about the video? Totally real.
It's definitely real. So we've talked about this a little bit in the last video was about the dinosaurs. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, Hawaii was used for Jurassic Park. Well, they didn't actually put dinosaur bones out onto the ground. Like that didn't happen. It was all, CGI. They would have cleaned themselves up afterwards. So those are definitely real.
Okay, so somebody used Google Earth. Now we've seen a video of UFOs and all sorts of crazy things on Google Earth.
Mhm.
Someone carrying dead bodies out to sea. So this was cool when I saw that. And it
Yeah.
confirms what you said last time.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to put that out there. I think we're done with Hawaii for now, but I wanted people to realize that everything is not what we're told. And in this case of Hawaii, there's a lot of major corruption happening. Anything
Yes.
else we need to add, Deanna?
No, I think that's it. I guess if people have questions, comments, or
Yeah,
anything that they want us to explore with this topic, then they can definitely put it into the comments so
yeah,
we can get to that. Because sometimes it's easier when people have their own questions that we might
yeah,
have just skipped over or never thought about.
yep. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate everything.
Of course, bye.
Bye-bye.